Southern Flavor is a song written by Bill Monroe when he was 76 years old. I find that I never really play my solo the same way. I always improvise a solo for this song. We'll first show you some of the licks and ideas that I use as I'm improvising my solo. I then will just perform the entire solo. Teaching the concepts of improvisation is always somewhat tricky. What I'll do here in this video is give you ideas as to how I developed my solo. Feel free to use some of those ideas and perhaps add some of your own. First off, it always starts with knowing the chord structure to the song. There's two parts. The first part is 16 measures and gets repeated. The second part is 16 measures, but if you notice, the last 8 measures repeat the same part as part A. So it's really kind of an A-A-B-A structure. Being that Bill wrote this on the mandolin, let's give you a little hint of the original melody. Turns out that really is just an E minor blues scale. And here are those same notes an octave lower on the banjo. Turns out we don't have that real low B note that you heard me play on the mandolin, but we have all the others. Now we could find this E note up here at fret 5, and we could find this high G note over here on fret 5 as well. So the first thing I'll do is develop a little lick off of this scale. And I end with my E minor chord to keep everything in tune. You'll note that I used a very standard lick. Finished it on the E, but that allows me to make my solo sound much more banjo-ish than the basic melody as played on the mandolin. When the melody gets to that B7, I simply need to know where are the notes for a B7 chord. Here is one B7 chord. It's quite a stretch, but if you're just doing a forward-backward roll, you'll only need fingers 1 and 2. That fifth string clashes a little bit, but it sounds kind of cool in this E minor setting. The main other thing you need to know is that when you have this E minor slash G, E minor slash F sharp, you really need to just go and find those notes. You don't have to worry about adding other notes of the chord. It'll sound great just playing your open strings plus the G, F sharp down to the E of the E minor. Rather than just learning one solo and repeating those 16 measures for part A, I then will take and find a solo up here where I think of the E minor chord up here and the E minor chord here at the 8th fret. You use that in Cumberland Gap and other songs. And notice again I used a little bit of that choke lick to make it sound like a banjo solo. To find my B7 fingering, I just take the idea of these two notes and move them all the way up to here with a bar to pick up the 2nd string 12th fret. And to wrap it up with the G, F sharp, E, I find that right here, 8th fret, 2nd string. Doing a forward roll. And on that E note, work my way back down to this E minor down here. There's a very unusual chord in this B part, and that is we're going to go down to D. I tried to avoid the 5th string because it sounds like kind of a clunker note, so after it returns to the D chord, it finishes up on a B chord, or a B7, and I get that by doing this little triplet lick that I worked out. And then I move up to fret 7 with fingers 1 and 2, do the same timing, and finish with a B note right here. By doing that, I've got my fingers in position to come back up and get this E minor up here and do my recap and finish up the solo. I now will just perform the song based on the ideas I just went over. If you'd like to get a tab that will be very close to what you'll hear me play here, you can see the video description for information on how to order it. Keep in mind that we are trying to improvise, so it won't be note for note the same, but it will give you an idea of ideas you could use in your own solo. And now we'll perform Southern Flavor pretty much up to speed. If you need to slow it down, just use the YouTube features.